All right, we're going live. I'm going to let it connect. There's a few different services that we're using here. Hello to everybody, by the way, who is watching this later, because you're going to be the ones who actually get to watch it from the beginning. Okay, looks like
they get to see the
Twitch
awkward part.
Right.
Yeah.
Awkward. That's right, tickle Jed.
I don't.
Oh,
isn't
gosh.
the whole 2 hours going to be the awkward part?
Doesn't seem to be live on Infinite Red on the YouTube. Can you all go check on youtube.infinite.red?
I was told not to use the browser.
I don't see it on there
We
yet.
talked about this before, Tom.
Oh, yep, it's up.
Oh, it's
We're
up
good.
now. Okay.
Just
We're good.
yeah.
I'm actually gonna. That's
Okay.
the link I'm gonna use. So I'm going to grab that link and post it on my Twitter. All right, we're live,
Woohoo!
and we've got some people in chat already. This is cool.
Oh,
That was fast.
hello, chat.
Parsa, hey, how's it going from Twitch? Wookie from Twitter. I'm not gonna say X. Mark,
It's never.
Lynch,
It will never
we're
be X.
here
It will
from
always be Twitter.
YouTube.
From our
Nice.
folded hands.
Derek comes in from YouTube as well. Hey, Derek.
Is that our Derek?
Our Derek.
Hi, Derek.
Oh, hi, Derek.
Nayan coming in 10:30 at night in India.
Oh, wow, that's dedication.
That's that's dedication right there.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Very cool. Well, we'll let some people kind of stream in here, and feel free to say hi when you come in, and of course we'll give you a little shout out. But just as a little bit of an intro, of course, this is our React Native Radio crew. I'm Jamin, and we have Robin and Mazen, who are the normal hosts of React Native Radio.
Normal is a really
Eh,
loose
stretching
term.
a little bit. Most common. We also have Todd Worth, our CEO, who has promised that he will behave, but I don't believe him. He's also our main editor at React Native Radio. We
Jed
also
takes
have
issue with that.
Jed.
I do take issue with that. Yes.
We also have Jed, who is our even more main editor
Mm.
at
There you
React
go.
Native Radio. Now Todd has issue with that. And he's also our director of operations. And then we have Justin Husky, our director of communications, who does all kinds of other things.
He's the
Associated
social
with
media intern.
Social media intern.
He's not an intern.
Right. Mark Rickert coming in from YouTube.
Mark.
Hey.
We got Mateen from Twitch. And Mark says, I'm taking bets on how long it takes for Todd's first live stream HR violation.
There you go.
We're gonna end up on the-
strategically hasn't said a word yet. So
Isn't
Mark,
there a live stream fails
I have a
subreddit?
mute button. I actually am host of this Zoom call, so I can hit mute.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you have that button.
It's good for everybody involved. All right, including Todd, by the way. All right, so Mark Lynch just put 20 minutes or $20 on 19 minutes, which is
Nice.
must not know Todd. Okay, so first thing I want to say is obviously congrats to everybody for episode 300. We've actually already recorded a few others
5.
after
Yeah.
300. Like that was a few ago. It's always kind of fun. And I think Todd, didn't you edit 300? You did the whole thing? I think Jed was out sick or something. So,
He was awesome and did the whole entire thing.
and I heard that was the easiest one to edit you've ever done in your life. Was
See,
it?
look at you got him to not talk
It's okay
at
to talk.
all.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was told not to talk. Yes, I edited 300. It was very long and complicated, but that's fine.
Yeah.
We tried to make it as easy as possible, but
Yeah. But see, that
the
one had
nature of
like,
it.
that had
it-
like audio clips and
Mhm.
stuff like
It,
that.
w-
in
it wasn't. It wasn't the audio clips. It was just.
Hmm.
It's always length and number of people
Mm,
and
Mhm.
how much they chat back and forth real quick. If it's just
Yeah.
an interview where someone's talking for 2 minutes straight, that's much easier than everyone interacting.
When you get the three of us together, we just like to chat.
It's true.
Despite what the podcast sounds like, they do not all not talk over each other, like in the final
This
edit.
this is
That
true.
is true.
Actually, you're gonna hear it here.
I can feel you looking at me when you say that, Todd. Yeah, your silence says everything.
Yeah.
We also
He's
have
back silent. mode.
Carter from Twitter and Darren
Welcome back.
Wilson. Our Darren Wilson from YouTube says, "Congrats, React Native Radio."
Oh, thanks, Darren.
Darren's always a huge supporter. We have Dan Edwards, also from the Infinite Red team. Woot Woot 300 and Nick Morgan. What up? Awesome. Good React Native, or sorry, a good Infinite Red presence here. We have like something like 100 people, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, from many
That's
different
fast.
sources. Like there's
Don't tell me that
Twitch,
though.
Hey, Kate
I can just pretend that I'm talking into a
from
void,
Utah.
right?
and I'm good.
That's the thing with a podcast.
Oh,
we
yeah.
we actually
Hey, Katie.
it's something like 2,000, 2,500, something like that. That would listen to just like the lowest amount. Often we'll get much more than that, but we don't have any interaction. Like there's no
Oh,
chat.
I can just pretend that I'm talking to you two.
Exactly.
And no one will ever hear it.
Yeah. Barrett says, "Happy Friday. Congrats on the 300 episode. Thank you." Brandon Zilstra also on YouTube says, "Congratulations, everyone." And Caddy. Hey, Caddy.
Oh,
Happy
hi, Caddy.
300. And yeah, Kate as well. Todd, I think, mentioned her. So cool. So if anybody in chat has questions, this is technically an AMA. You can ask us anything. We may or may not answer. You can ask us anything. No, we'll try to answer anything. So we're just sort of celebrating that. We're gonna stream a little bit and just chat. You're gonna kind of see how we do some of the behind the scenes of React Native Radio, because people like Todd, Jed, and Justin are usually behind the camera, or the microphone, I should say. But in this case, we wanted to represent everybody. So Caddy says, "What was your favorite episode?"
The one I was in.
That was quick.
Naturally.
It was
that
really
would
good.
be your favorite.
It was good. Yeah, it was good.
Sadly, I was held back by a couple other hosts.
Jed,
You're
do you
not
have a
talking
favorite
about me,
episode?
are you?
I need to think about that. I really like the day in the life of the developer that we do.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
did two.
Those are really cool.
We
Two,
did
yeah.
we did one right at the beginning when we started. Then we did like the sequel.
Yeah. So that's more of an umbrella. That's more of like a category, I guess. I need to do some thinking for a specific
Well, that's
one.
probably one of the ones that you can like relate to, because we're
Yeah.
just like talking about us.
Mm-hmm. And those are pretty easy to edit too. So those are always fun.
And those are
That's
interview
Jed's
style.
criteria for his favorite.
Justin, do you have a favorite?
Honestly, one of my favorite I'm not a developer, but I absolutely love Charlie Cheever's episode. Like
Mhm.
there was so much in that was outside of just development. His stories about early days of
Oh
the
my
internet and
gosh.
everything that were so good.
Mm-hmm.
His Mark Zuckerberg story was gold.
Yeah,
Yes.
so good. Yeah, we were asked this question on episode 300, and that was my answer as well. I love that episode. I mean, it changes all
Yeah.
the time. There's
I
so
don't-
many
It
good ones.
does.
I don't have particular episodes, but I do enjoy the episodes where, especially like Robin and Jamin banter, those kind of stuff. That's
Oh my
fun.
gosh, those are so awesome.
I wonder if the audience likes those or they prefer like the interviews with lots of content.
Mm.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because we do get really good feedback on the interviews, because they're
Mhm.
often like we're bringing in subject matter experts, and
Yeah.
they know their stuff. Like bringing in Evan Bacon, it's always awesome. He's always like
Mhm.
got tons of ideas and things like that. We should probably do that more often.
Yeah, you really sizzle.
And so but then the ones with just us are really fun for us because like instead of being like having to be like on like it's an interview, we can just be comfortable
We
with
can
each
just,
other
yeah.
and chat. Yeah.
Well,
I
and
think
I
a lot
think
of people, sorry, Robin, in
No, go
like
ahead.
Chain React, I remember a lot of people were coming in and saying like, when we do the three of us, they want us to kind of like dig in and go more technical on things. So there's also like that piece, which we've been trying to do.
Yeah,
I
totally.
also just I like that our podcast has like a lot of personality.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So Mark Ricker asks, who has been your favorite guest host and why is it me?
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure he's wanting us to say that it was him because he was a really good guest host.
Frank might have to be mine. Sorry, Mark.
Oh,
I
Frank, yeah.
I actually was not on Mark's episode because I think I was on maternity leave when we did that one. I listened to it though. It was a really good episode. We did one recently, that I had a lot of fun with. I don't know if that one's actually out yet. The one with Taylor.
Yeah, that was fun. We
That's
have
not
kind of a
right.
differentiation though between guests and guest hosts.
That is true. That is
So
true.
Taylor would have been more of a guest.
The guest,
But
right.
I really enjoyed that one. That was very, very
Taylor
good.
who?
Taylor
Desson.
Desson. And
Oh, okay.
so we were talking about the job market. And what
Yeah.
was cool about that is he's coming in as like not a React Native developer, but as a recruiter, kind of in that realm.
Mhm.
And
Well, his whole job is talking to people,
Mhm.
and he's really good at it. And it was really
Yeah.
fun it was just really fun to talk to him for an hour.
I'm
Yeah,
going to be on
totally.
his podcast on Monday or Tuesday. Monday, I believe.
Nice.
Oh, is that right?
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
think Jamin's been on it. I've been on it.
Yep.
He invited me
Gant?
to come
Yep.
later in the summer after he gets back from he just had a baby,
Mhm.
or his wife just had a baby, or we're just
Yeah.
about to have a baby.
Aw.
I
So
think
he's gonna be
July.
out for a little
That's
bit.
awesome,
Yeah.
I just want him and Jed to do an episode because I just think
We're
of them as being
convinced.
I agree with that.
similar personalities.
One
and
day.
They're literally doppelgangers, I think.
I know it would just be that Spider-Man meme. It'd be so fun. Yeah. We do have another question here. So let's see here. Mark Lynch asks, I remember someone talking about a reboot of Making of Infinite Red series. I think he means Building Infinite Red.
Mhm.
Any plans for this? Maybe titled The Refining of Infinite Red,
Oh,
which actually is that's
a-
pretty insightful.
That's a really good idea.
So that was our first podcast ever. And it was me, Todd, and originally Ken, who was one of the three co-founders of Infinite Red. And then later Gant came on board. And so we did, I think, 13 episodes. They were topical. So we would take a particular topic like around, what did we talked about, like Chain
Hiring.
React, how that came to be and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah,
that.
how we hire. It's just all different business.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
We had a season 2, so I think it's actually more than 13, isn't it?
Season 2 was only a few episodes. I think we did
Okay.
like 10 and then 3 or something like that. In that range.
We talked about doing it.
Mhm.
It was fun, but
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, all in all, we had
it's,
6 episodes for season 2.
Oh, that was more than I thought.
I think
Yeah.
the tough part is coming up with content because
Yeah.
like I mean, I think we could do a whole new season. We certainly could do a season 3. But just because there's been so much water under the bridge since then. But then like what's next? Like we don't have like React Native Radio, we have this endless stream of news. Like we can always like,
Mhm.
oh hey, Expo just released a new SDK and React Native whatever just came out, or a new library or something like that. But a little bit less on the Infinite Red side.
18 hours of talking about your company is difficult. I would love to do like the average goings on at Infinite Red.
Mhm.
The main problem is a lot of the good stories are about clients who have NDAs, and
This is true.
and it's like there's some really great, like if I wrote a book after Infinite Red doesn't exist anymore, it'd be fun.
That would be fun. Yeah.
Mhm. You should
You're
start writing it
consulting.
now and
Well,
That's
we have-
exactly.
put it
we have
just put it
Simplify the
away.
process later.
We have so much history in Slack that would like be a good research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, it's fun.
I mean, we can't even mention 60, 70% of our clients that we work with them.
this is true. Yeah.
Mhm.
I should just like put their logos behind my me instead
Just
of
be
like
like,
Blazers,
just be like,
I just really
I'm
like
enjoying
these
this
companies.
delicious drink.
You know,
Exactly.
We don't work
It's
for
fu-
whoever this is.
It's
yeah,
funny you
sure.
say that because I was preparing for the advanced workshop for Chain React, and I realized I took some screenshots and video recordings of my Android device, and
Oh,
a lot
no,
of
and it had
icons. A lot of
Oh,
icons were in the
no.
Oh
background,
no.
and I was
Oh,
like,
no.
"Gotta redo all this material."
Oh no.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
Wow.
So, yeah,
that's a sad reality.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
yeah.
I I do want to like I'm making more of an effort to try to like push our clients toward like letting us share more. But so many are just like very reluctant. They
Yeah.
have sort of a culture of like everything's proprietary, sign NDAs, be like really like quiet about everything. And it's not
I
like
mean,
that's not really how we are. We're super transparent about a lot of things,
Yes.
and probably almost like too much so.
hmm
But yeah.
Well, we could use like fake names, like we did a project for Macro Hard or Pear.
Pear.
No one will catch on.
Pear
what
was
we're
a
talking about.
challenging
me-
project, man. Let me tell you.
It took me a second.
Okay. Yeah. Hitting a little close to those NDAs. All right. So
Well, we can publicly say we work for Microsoft.
this is true.
Our lawyer enters the chat.
And working for Pear was so long ago. I don't.
All right.
It was, the problem with Pear is the top was really thin in knowledge, but the bottom really full of knowledge. That's a Pear joke. See, this is where I can edit this out.
We're
I
gonna
know
work on
that's the
it.
thing. Like in live, you
Good
can't edit it
example of
out. It's
something we
just
cut.
like you try a
You
joke.
tried
I go for quantity, not quality, and then I edit it out, and now I just look like an idiot.
Exactly. That's all right.
Now this is going to be
All right,
on the
another
internet
question.
forever.
I know.
Another question. Oliver Lopez says, by the way, hi, Oliver. What are your top 3 favorite libraries when you'd start a new React Native project? Robin, what do you think?
Okay, so are we talking like most installed or like actually like favorite that I enjoy installing? Because I guarantee you every single project that we start, you install React Native Gesture Handler,
mhm,
React Native Safe Area Context,
mhm. Reanimated.
Reanimated,
Mhm.
React
probably a bunch
navigation.
more that just come with Ignite,
Right.
so I don't think about them anymore.
Mhm.
So like there's libraries that just literally get installed in every single project.
What if you had to
far
like
as-
npx React Native like Bear or like a Bear Expo app? What would be like your first 3 you would put in?
Probably those,
Uh,
right?
well,
Probably
definitely
more interesting if you're using Ignite, because then all of the normal ones
right.
are
It's like
taken.
the answers are always
Exactly.
going to be like React Navigation,
Right.
MobXD3, like Reactron, like all these things.
Yeah.
But like starting with Ignite, you're like, okay, assuming we have all of the stuff that we always install,
Yeah.
what comes next? And it's a good question. I have to actually like pull up my project and see because
Right.
it's been a while. But like things like React Native bottom sheet
Mhm.
is usually one that I reach for pretty soon after I start a project.
If you need the camera, vision camera is amazing.
Vision camera is amazing.
It's like one of the more complex but awesome libraries out there.
Mhm.
Not a favorite, but one that you often have to reach for anyway is React Native WebView. It's also a big beast.
Well, yes,
but
you have to install it now because it doesn't come with React Native anymore.
no. So, if you need any sort of web views or browser stuff, then that's going to be coming in.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll probably think of one after the stream, like, oh, I should have mentioned that.
I was like, I'm literally about to pull up the package
Yeah.
JSON on my current project.
Mark has a question. Mark Rickert. How many times have you had to completely re-record an episode because of technical issues or audio quality? And does the second pass turn out better or worse. And
Only like
Robin, why are you making that face? I don't understand.
only like
Okay,
three,
before
we throw
only like three
Robin-
times, I think.
Before we throw Robin under the
Three
bus.
max.
It's
Oh,
always
yeah.
me. Always me.
But wait,
Sorry,
you guys
Robin, I can't
remember-
hear you. Are you on the right mic?
Oh, shush.
Oh,
Oh,
this has turned into a Robin roast.
Let's see. The times that we've had to re-record, one, I was on the wrong mic for literally the whole episode.
And Mike did not
And-
enjoy that.
Okay.
do you remember that
was
one
19?
episode?
That was 19 minutes. That was 19
No
minutes.
way.
No way. That's $20. sent
Wait,
to
Todd,
Mark Lynch.
Todd.
I can't
Were you
believe it.
tracking that it was 19 minutes?
Perfectly.
oh
This is insider trading.
This is yeah,
Seriously.
come on, Mark. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, there was definitely one where I was on the wrong microphone.
But do you guys remember we recorded an episode, the three of us. We finished it and we said, let's just do it again. And we
Yeah, we
did it
did do
again.
that.
And it was
Yeah.
so much better the second
Yeah.
pass.
Oh yeah,
Our
we've
first
definitely done
pass,
that
we
at
were
least
just
once.
like, it was not. We
Mhm.
were just stumbling a lot, but it was like a practice session. We did a couple times, I think, do a speed run, like not a full episode recording, but we were like,
Yeah.
we're gonna do a speed run through this episode and kind of like skip some parts that we feel more confident about. It's almost like practicing a talk. And then when we came back, I felt like it went a lot better. It usually works better for things like R&R explains,
Yeah.
where we
Yeah.
have some. It's almost like a talk in some
Mhm.
ways. Like we're trying to make it feel that way.
But Todd, so this, I think it was like the second episode we ever did on state management, and Todd probably remembers this well. Something happened to my audio, and it wasn't anything that like I
Oh,
did wrong,
yes.
but it just got, it was like the file was just, I don't know how it was like corrupted or something, and like sounded super garbled, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
we weren't sure what happened. And instead of re-recording the episode with everybody, I sat with Todd for
Right.
2 or 3 hours, and like he would play like little chunks of my audio, and I would just like say it again.
Yeah, don't do that, kids.
Don't do that.
Yeah, we learned what
I
not to
don't.
do there.
It would have been way easier and faster just to get everybody together and
Well, I-
re-record it.
I want to ask Jed on this question. How
Oh, yeah.
often should they re-record?
Or how often do you wish you could tell us to re-record?
Well, here's the deal. I'm gonna please apologize for this editor rant, but
no.
If they do a 30-minute episode and it wasn't the best effort, let's say, or just
Yeah.
didn't come out, rather than doing another 30 minutes, they add 6 hours to editors. time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which,
And
to
Jed
their
and
credit,
Jed and I will.
But I
get
don't
into
think you've
them
ever
and-
told us that that's true. You could like just like say, "Hey, can you guys re-record this one?"
so
Yeah.
there's a two-part. Hey, now this was
Yeah.
originally a question to
It was a
Jed, and then
question
Todd
to Jed.
answered his own question. So
Oh, this really is a sneak peek behind the scenes. All right.
So one thing I think that one tweak that we've done that's really helped this a lot is I've been in, actually for a while now, I've been in our actual like recording sessions, just kind of sitting in the background, and that does help kind of get a sneak peek on like what to expect, or worst case scenario if it's like, hey, this first take that you guys really did, the first take that you guys did was really good. Let's just stick with that, and then I can like change around the last bit a little bit, and then it'll be fine. So that's helped out a lot. There have been there totally have been times where it's like, okay, we should probably just redo this completely, and we won't.
Remember
but
there was an
that's
episode-
few and far between.
It was just me, a guest, and you, Jed.
Yep.
And like at one point you jump in and you're like, "Hey guys, sorry to interrupt, but just start that whole section over."
Yeah,
I remember
yeah,
that.
exactly.
And that was very helpful. Yeah.
hmm
You're
You know-
totally the producer.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that we could somehow get you on a mic, because like some of my favorite podcasts, they have the producer like as part of the show, and they'll like interject, or like they'll ask their producer
Yes.
just like for their
Mm.
opinion on something random, and it's just a fun little
Oh,
like
that's-
dynamic where
be-
like the producer's like behind the wall in the booth, and
Yeah.
like that's
That would
totally
be copious amounts
Yeah.
of fun.
Well, a lot of people don't realize how much work we put into each episode. It's not maybe on the level of like professional podcasting.
We are not
company,
full-time
you know,
podcasters,
but
believe it or not.
the vast majority of tech podcasts, what they do is they turn on whatever software they're using. They record about some topic, usually meandering around, and then they click done and they hit publish. That's what they do. And when we took over React Native Radio, we were like most things at Infinite Red, we're like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. And we put an incredible amount of work into the process. And then also, as we've gone, we've learned things like don't do the thing that we did with Robin, where you re-record snippets, like just redo the episode.
It's painful.
And then I know that Todd and Jed have spent a lot of time like refining how they edit and things like that. And we've had good collaboration between the hosts and the editors to make sure that we're doing as good a job as we can. Little things like Jed will come in, and when we have a guest, he'll actually ask them to record a little like sample so he can listen to it and see if their mic setup is good, and then have them adjust things. And then I know on Justin's side, like he's coordinating guests, he's doing a lot of the social media and marketing and things like that. And we got to get the word out about the episodes. So he has over time increased our coverage of where these things get posted, how they get posted. Like now we're on YouTube Music. Like you can go on there and listen to us on a podcast, stuff like that. I think Spotify too, and other places like that. So just kind of like broadening our reach in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Yeah, and you, Jamin and Robin, and I'll include Mazen comes in later, but from when you first started to now, it's an amazing. You all do so much better. Like Jamin and Robin has sometimes. So we tell the hosts if they say something wrong to just think about it and wait, because it's much easier for us to remove just silence. And so other than the kind of like just silence removing, which is fairly easy, the host can go on for a long time and we don't have to edit any of it. So you all have progressed tons.
Well, there's
Despite
a comfort. There's a natural comfort level that develops. Like I used to get super nervous for every episode, and now sometimes I'll even forget that we're doing an episode and show up and be like, okay, let's do it.
Mazen has less time, so obviously it's not quite as, but he's improved a great deal too.
I've seen major improvement, yeah, for sure.
Mazen was never
been hosting his own episodes and things like that.
Oh yeah, Mazen's been
all
great.
three of us have hosted our own episodes.
When Mazen's talking, there's very little editing. He's a real pro.
That's awesome.
But before, in the older days, he just didn't talk as much, which is more Mazen's personality.
Yeah.
So that's probably just getting him.
And mine too. I don't talk a lot.
No.
Oh, sorry.
We have to pull it out of you sometimes.
I'm gonna call fake news on that one real quick.
Even told a joke.
It was a joke.
Well, and another part of this too that's really core, in my opinion, is we have a very tightly iterating process to where, like, if we figure out, oh hey, like Todd mentioned with the silence, it's like we need to make sure that this is top of mind. That's in the beginning of our like episode doc, because we'll have a doc that is getting referenced as we're recording the episode. It's like that and a bunch of other little things are in there as constant reminders, not only for us, but for any guests that come on. And that will get updated and tweaked as we find stuff that helps make that process better too. So
I'm sure we spend way too much time on this stuff, but it's kind of
probably, but
it's kind of the IR way. Like,
Yeah, we're constantly making people think we have a team that is way bigger
that's the biggest compliment
and more professional than we actually are.
Well, I mean,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Nick Morgan asks, how long does it take to produce an episode from start to finish, and what is the process? So I'll start at the very beginning. We plan out probably 2 or 3 months in advance, depending on where we're at. Sometimes we close in on that. topics, and topic selection is really important. And this includes things like guests and whatnot. So we might be kind of scouting for guests on Twitter or otherwise, and reaching out to them, seeing if they're interested in coming on, and kind of just having a little bit of a conversation. A lot of times it's me, not always me. Like Mazen has done some inviting, Robin's done some inviting, and Justin is involved in kind of carrying that through to like actually getting it scheduled. So we'll kind of know some of the topics. Sometimes if it's like just us three, we don't plan those out as far, but the guest ones are planned out much further. So that takes some time for sure. And then the week prior to the recording, we do a prep. So we did one yesterday. And so for our next recording, and we kind of look at the topic, we look at maybe the guests, what they're doing, and come up with a list of questions and things we want to hit on, and do some other just sort of like planning around just talking about what we want to achieve. So we actually spend like an hour doing that every week before we do a recording. And I like that we do it the week prior. It's like a Thursday and then we record on a Tuesday. So you get the weekend to kind of like, think it through and kind of chew on it a little bit if you, or, sleep on it. And then when we come in on Tuesdays to record, we review that a little bit before we get going. And then there's the actual podcast recording, which is typically 45 minutes to an hour. We would prefer to be on the shorter end of that, and the editors would very much prefer us to be on the shorter end of that. It's very hard. Actually, it was kind of fun when Todd came on, because he got to see like, wait, what? We're already at an hour? Like, how did that happen? Like it happens all the time. Like you're just into the topic and not really paying attention to time. And it's like, oh no, we got to wrap up. And then we upload all of the media to a channel in Slack. So we record locally. We use Audacity. The guests usually use like QuickTime or something like that if they don't have Audacity. And we record on that locally, each of us. We're just in Zoom. Like we're not using any special software for this.
But you don't record. You record. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And then we upload all of those to Slack, and then sometime later, now this is Todd and Jed's side of things, and they take over.
Depending on like,
and you can
the release schedule, it could be 1 to 2 weeks later. It might be 3 to 4 weeks later. It just depends. Some things like jump the line. Like when we did 300, like we basically recorded it and edited it right away because
it was a timely thing.
Yeah, there was a
time sensitive ones. Like when a new version of React Native or Expo comes out, we want those to come out immediately rather than like a topic.
Right. We don't want it to sit there for 5 weeks because then it's not timely anymore.
Sadly, it does sometimes. But
yeah. And then you want to talk about the editing process a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So Justin posts at the beginning of the week what the episode is this week, which has already been recorded. And then Jed and I, nowadays, we actually split the edit. So there's a first part that takes an hour and a half, maybe something like that, which is fixing all the audio, which for our people, because we have good equipment, isn't much work. But for guests, it's often a lot of work. So we clean up all the audio, we get everything normalized, we get it all set it up, we all get it laid out in our timeline. We use Adobe Audition for editing, and we get it all there, and we get all the pieces put in, and then get it kind of to a point where you're ready to actually listen to it and edit it, and then we pass it off to the other person. So if Jed did the initial part, then he'd tell me it's ready to go, and then I would edit it. And if it's a 30-minute episode, you could maybe edit in about another hour and a half, 2 hours. So I think, Jed, correct me if I'm wrong, I think probably we spend 3 to 5 hours per episode editing.
Yeah, I think that's about right. In the grand scheme of things, depending on the time, the like raw recording time, and then also like guests audio and stuff like that. Yeah,
Right.
around 3 to 5 hours or
and
so.
and then we go through and do the final edit, which is literally you listen to it, you pull out. I mean, the robotic stuff's easy, like pull out a percentage of the ums and the coughs, and where the host will go, oh, I want to redo that, and then you have to remove the whole thing. That's kind of more robotic. But then there's the more of the artistic side, where you're deciding if you want to have something removed, which we do sometimes. You'll have 3-4 people saying a bunch of stuff at once, and then you kind of home in on one person. Jokes is a particularly one where you have to improve their timing, which, sorry, but we do, like, because a lot of people tell a joke, those tell it straight through, like, A, B, C, haha. But in reality, you need some time in there
Some
to
comedic timing.
yeah, and then have other people respond. So we don't actually change the content too much in that way, but we do that.
Once in
Unless
a
we
great
like
while,
literally say something that's like factually incorrect.
Well, I remove those.
You've taken stuff
That just gets
out,
pulled
that has
out,
happened.
yeah.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, or if we say something where I know we can't say that, we have to remove that.
Yep.
I would it would be so
like an
fun one
NDA
time to like
situation.
release like just internally
Spoilers.
just the parts of the podcast that didn't make it.
Yeah,
Just,
that's a
like,
lot.
put all
That would be
those-
that
I
would be a
know it
lot.
would be.
That would be a lot of work, but yeah. And
Have a
then
blooper reel for it.
and then
Every time you take something out, just don't delete it. Just move it to another file.
yeah, and then the final editor does the intro, assembles all the canned pieces like Jed's outro and stuff, and then we send it over to Justin. And real quick, I know I'm talking too much here, but a lot of people don't realize, like, why does it take so long? Like, well, imagine you have an hour episode. Ideally, you'd want to listen to the episode and kind of hear what's going on and maybe make notes on what you think should, and then you have to edit it. And then ideally you would listen to it again. So even if your edit took 1 second, you'd want to listen to it for 2 hours, right? We don't actually do that on an hour episode because it's just too much time. On a 30-minute episode, you can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I'd love to have, like, an NPR episode or something like that, where they can spend 2 days on the edit.
Right. Yeah.
It would be awesome to be then to go in final and just kind of rearrange things. So you have kind of a roller coaster, like exciting, technical, whatever. That would be cool. We don't have time to do that.
I always talk about how much I sometimes wish that we had like a full-time like staff devoted just to the podcast, and we could do it like the way a professional podcasting team could do it, and spend so much more time like preparing and editing and all this stuff. But it's also really cool to be able to do this on the side of also everything else that we do.
And I've asked Todd, like, I mean, Todd's the CEO of our company. Like, it's not like he doesn't have other things to do. But it's one of those things. Todd keeps telling me, I enjoy it. I keep liking
And
it. So
it really is a lot of fun. I mean, there are plenty of times where I'm like, okay, knees to chest, go in the closet mid edit and just scream for like 5 seconds. But no, I'm just kidding. It's a ton of fun though. Mazen, you had like an interjection a long time ago, and I saw it come up. And
I was just gonna say, I remember now. When Todd said he does the initial audio cleanup, it's basically, and I know it's basically cleaning up my audio file. It's
Mazen's HVAC could be a fourth host of the podcast.
My HVAC is guaranteed one that gets cut out. There's a lot of construction around, so that gets trimmed out.
Yeah,
so a lot of that
that's
background noise gets leveled, like kind of suppressed or dampened. I don't know what the phrase is, so that it's just the audio coming through and not muffled or drowned out, essentially.
Oh my goodness. Low key, hilarious story time, real quick, just for everybody. There was an edit we were doing. We had a guest on. I don't remember the guest name.
Yeah.
But he had
can I say
landscaping in the background. Okay, you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Kevin Gozali from Meta when we were doing
first new architecture episode. First
was
new architecture
one of our
episode.
most popular.
Yeah.
He had a landscaping crew in the background. Somebody was just going to town with a leaf blower. They were just having the time of their life, and we're finally just like, all right, we need to pause and wait. And we
Window
paused.
open. Window open.
Window
too.
was open
Yeah, of
too. So
course,
yeah, he
'cause-
goes and closes the window, and while we're all paused and just waiting, you hear a leaf blower spin down. You just hear it go dugga, 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 dugga in the background. It's just really quiet. As soon as he starts talking again, it's just on, and we're just like, no.
It's so funny. Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Don't leave your windows open, guests, please.
Don't do that.
But just to
Yeah.
wrap up what we were talking about, like obviously like editing very, very time consuming. You know, it takes a long time, especially for longer episodes. But there's also Justin's time too. And
Mhm.
Justin, do you want to interject anything there?
Sure. I've got probably the most easy job out of the entire crew. And mildly interesting is I made my easy job easier recently. So I take the file that Todd and Jed give me, I upload it to our AI service, which transcribes it, upload the transcription to ChatGPT, and then it actually will start writing me episode descriptions that I can edit and tweets that I can put out. So
I love
yes,
it.
I have taken AI to make my easy job easier, and I haven't checked, but I do think by mentioning AI twice, Infinite Red stock price might be the most valuable company now.
Oh, it's
I'm not
true.
sure.
It's true.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's,
man.
we're chasing Nvidia.
Can
right
we
now.
can
We
we be
are.
React Native Radio the AI podcast? I feel I've heard that if you just put AI in the name of your thing, it makes it more
That's what it
popular.
does.
So Brandon Zilstra asks, is Infinite Red swag available to the unwashed masses or just insiders?
Oh, this shirt.
Good
Mhm.
question.
Just ping us.
And give us a magic dance. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, we can elaborate later on what the magic
It is
dance
not
does.
available to the public, but for our super fans. We actually so John Major, who works here.
He was on that. He was a co-host.
He was
for a
the
while.
host. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a big fan of ours, and he asked for swag, and we sent him a box of swag. Now, I'm not saying I'm gonna do this for you because I don't know you, and I know what you do, and no one's looking. Anyways, and we sent him, and he sent us a photo with like all the swag, and then later we hired him. So you're muted, Jamin. I didn't do it.
I need to I need to
We
find that
gotta
photo
find
because
the photo. It was such an epic
the
picture.
photo is
Yeah.
such an epic photo.
Yeah, so we do
man.
have select fans out in the world
Someone-
that have Infinite Red swag.
If we sold
haven't done
it.
swag, we would sell like
We've given away so like
two
that
items.
the hat that you're wearing, Todd. We gave
This-
away a couple of those at Chain React. I
no,
remember.
no, not this hat, the black
Well,
one. This,
the
this
black
was
one.
this was a misprint, and I'm the only one that
Oh.
has it, and I love this one. I don't know why. It's not my colors.
I'm gonna find it. Keep filling dead air here.
Which I didn't. We really got to get on the bandwagon because I remember, like, there were some Ruby companies where I swear every person in the entire tech industry had a New Relic data nerd shirt at one point. Like they just like they had their logo all over the place.
Jed just yesterday, I think, was ordering a whole bunch of new swag for Chain React. So
It's true. So if
Yeah.
you want to get a sneak peek and some of that, swing by the table at Chain React.
there you go.
And before you do that, you have to buy your ticket. So chainreactconf.com.
I mean,
It's the
Yeah.
closest we'll come to selling out
Not
a
with that
sponsorship.
we also, well, I guess this is a perfect time. We do have a
Find it.
coupon code if you're listening to this for Chain React, right? Justin,
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
it R&R?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. R&R
So-
takes I think $50 off.
Nice. There you go. So chainreactconf.com R&R.
Nice
All
plug.
right. I can't find
Great
the photo.
job, Mazen. I'm gonna send you
Aw.
that money here in just a minute.
I'm checking my Venmo right now.
Chain React
Venmo
doesn't-
in progress.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna actually ask a question from Twitch. Dirtsy asks, "Hey, React Native Ignite is so cool and well documented. It helped me optimize my code just by looking at it and testing it. I have a question. What would you recommend doing for a backend of React Native? Express/Postgres, or go with Firebase or something else? Thank you in advance." So, this is kind of an interesting question because, as you probably know, Infinite Red totally focuses on React Native, or just React Native. Like anything React Native, we're gonna do. So it could be obviously iOS and Android, but it could be also desktop, tvOS, you name it. If it's React Native, we're gonna be interested in doing it. But we don't do any backend. The backend, we used to actually have a backend team, and in fact, we hired, for example, Robin to work on it.
Right, to do Elixir.
Yeah, we did Elixir.
And then you hired me to do Elixir, and then I spent the first 3 months doing Rails, and then React Native after that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
0 Elixir was done.
But we hired
Elixir
you.
was a good kind of like honeypot technology.
Elixir was awesome, and there's
Mhm.
there's reasons why I didn't go anywhere, and it sucked.
That's the thing. Like, yeah, and we just ended up getting a lot of traction. So people come to us with their backend teams already established. There are some situations where they'll come to us and they say we need a proof of concept React Native app, and the backend doesn't matter that much because we're doing and like the vast majority of the time we're just going to use something like Firebase, like just something simple. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it. There are limitations to Firebase, so you have to be thinking about that when you're building your app. But I don't think we really have a recommendation. I will say that I am a pretty big fan of just using TypeScript everywhere, even though TypeScript isn't as good as Elixir, for example. The benefits of having the same language end to end are pretty tremendous. So think about that for sure.
I think
something like
I can add
Express,
something to
etc.
that. I think a friend of mine recently started, he's starting a company, and he asked me to help him come up with like a React Native app with a little back end so he could kind of get off the ground and speak to investors. You guys will get to see a sneak peek of this in Robin's talk at Chain React, so come to Chain React. Another Venmo, Justin, please.
Love it.
No, but he basically was like, I just need this up and running quickly. I have investors coming on. I need like authentication, just some basic stuff going. And he basically got it done with Supabase within a day or two. Keep in mind, he's not the most technical person out there. So I did, hop on a couple nights to help him crank it out, get it all done. But within 2 days, it was up and running. And great thing about it was I pointed him to the Ignite cookbook that Nick put together, and he followed it, and it worked. And I even like went in, I checked new architecture and flag on and off, and it worked fine. So I think if depending on your company and what you want out of it, Supabase can do the trick. And then if you want to get deeper, they have tables you can put together and make more requests against that. So Ignite together with Supabase works great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Supabase has more and more kind of been eating into the Firebase kind of market, I think. Yeah.
I feel like if you're doing, most of our clients have backend teams with a crap ton of data. But if you're doing a serverless backend, Firebase, Supabase, that kind of stuff. And we know how to do backend. We have some people on our team that's done very big backends, but it's just something our clients don't need, so we stopped doing it.
Yep.
Well, half of our React Native team, we just slowly trained over as our web clients.
We still have
like,
one React
backend web
Native
clients.
dev who's running a project at a client that's we've had for 8-9 years.
Yeah.
Did I say React Native? Rails.
You said React Native. I was
Rails.
like,
I meant
Rails, yeah.
I meant
Yeah,
Rails.
good. Yeah.
Question from Kate: which episode had the most listeners? So I want you all to guess.
The
It's
new
the
architecture for sure.
new
Kevin
architecture.
Ghazali.
So
Yeah,
that
Kevin
was
Ghazali.
number 1 by a mile. New architecture with Kevin Ghazali. Okay, what's number 2?
Charlie no, I feel like that was too
Charlie
recent.
Cheever?
That
Yeah, I
too
was wondering
recent.
about that one. So that one, yeah, it's very recent.
TypeScript.
Charlie's,
Or was it either?
It's
TypeScript
usually
top
one
10.
where there's an interview with someone who gets people to listen.
ironically the Mark Rickart's gonna like this one. He was there on this one. It was a Mark Rickert one with
Was it-
me and Mazen.
Was it performance enhancing drugs?
Nope. It was what's the
Mm.
difference between React.js and React Native?
Really?
It was actually the one right after Kevin Gonzalez.
Very interesting. Okay.
I wonder if
I
it was
wonder if-
like
Yeah.
bleeding listener, like
that probably is true.
that
And then
came in because
yeah, because
not
Kevin's
that it wasn't Mark, but
Kevin's was 222. Then that one was 223. The third one was 224, which was React Native Web on Next.js with Fernando Roya.
So people got very
Roy-
excited
Royo, sorry.
about the
Rojo.
new architecture and started following our podcast.
you're like, oh,
and
this
then
this is a cool
3
podcast.
episodes later, they're like, nope.
And then React Native tips and tricks was a good one. Redux
That was a good
toolkit
one.
versus MobX state tree showdown, transitioning from native to React Native.
How
at
did the
Green
us
Bay.
against Flutter one do?
I'm not seeing that.
We-
There was so TypeScript, the one that Mazen loves.
because that we had Orda on that one.
Orda. That was an early one. We also had debugging techniques was a big one. That was a very early one. And state management in React Native was one of the first ones. And then React 18 and the future of React Native was also really highly rated. Obviously, they get more, downloads over time. So, it's kind of a long tail. But that was that. Question from Parsa. What are you looking forward to most in the next year in our field?
1.0 is going to be really exciting when it happens.
I agree. That's probably the most important.
Yeah,
situation.
I'm looking forward to see the shift in
Yeah.
the community and the industry as the new architecture stops being the new architecture and starts
Mhm.
being just the architecture.
Yeah.
Of React Native.
I'm looking forward to the continued takeover of our future AI overlords personally, but
Yeah. Derek asks, what's the story behind including Robin and Mazen in the hosts? Did they have to learn new skills to become comfortable doing this? So
you want to tell Jamin, do you want to tell them how I became a host on the podcast?
Well, I also got a question from Isra, who is one of our speakers at Chain React. And she says, how are Robin and Mazen picked to become co-hosts? And then she says, if you know, you know. Like because
Yeah, right.
it's funny because I had messaged her and said, hey, you should submit a talk to Chain React. And she's like, I've never done that before. And then now she's a speaker. So I take the blame for that. Well, at least with Robin, Mazen actually, I think, came to me and said, hey, I'm interested. And so to his credit, he was like, if I remember right, Mazen.
Yeah, I sat in on a record. I had just started.
Yeah.
And then you were like, hey, part of the process is you sit in different meetings and kind of see how we do things. Like, do you want to sit in on a podcast recording? It was just you and Robin, I believe. He's like, yeah, sure. I don't mind sitting and listening because I've been listening to you guys for a while. And then towards the end, you were like, what did you think? Did you like it? I was like, oh, that was pretty cool to kind of see it all happen and then kind of how it gets trimmed and edited, kind of hearing from Todd's perspective. And you're like, cool. Do you want to be on it? I was like,
okay.
Maybe.
So
let me
it was
think
me.
about it and I'll get back to you. And then, I think you asked me a follow-up like a week later, I think right as you were recording. And I was like, yeah, let me actually sit in this next one. I sat in and I was like, all right, what do I need to do to try one episode? And I was like, I'm going to do one episode and then maybe commit after that.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, apparently I remembered it incorrectly. And Mark Lynch says Mazen didn't have an option with that voice. Yeah, it's true. He has the most like radio
big
voice.
fat.
Yeah, he does.
So now you should tell him how you got me.
Yes.
I'm curious if you remember it the same way I remember it.
Well, obviously I don't because I didn't remember Mazen's, and that was even. But I know I recruited you. I think I was like.
So
hey,
what I remember is for some like historical context, I tend to be like more hesitant to do stuff that's like new or scary for me, and so you kind of have to like coax me into stuff. But you asked me if like maybe I would be open to doing them, maybe. And then I was like, I'm open to considering it. And then the next thing I know, you've like published this thing about this React Native Radio podcast that we're doing, and the hosts are listed as Jamin and Robin. And I was like, oh, okay, so that maybe was really okay, we're doing this, and that's
So this is happening now. Yeah.
This is when I get a DM usually.
This is true.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
I'm the mom of the company for sure.
I'm always
Jamin's the
grateful.
dad.
I'm always grateful for the
Like,
nudge because he gets me to do stuff
just
that
Jump off the dock. The
I
water's
wouldn't
great.
ordinarily do, and then I'm grateful that he did. So
I think to also answer like Derek's question, like what skills did we have to learn to kind of be as comfortable as we are like during the episodes?
Mhm.
I think for me personally, at least, it was the two of you keeping me comfortable during the recording
mhm.
and just basically being like, hey, we're just chatting. It's not an interview. Just speak your mind. And also the fact that, you know, we talked about it earlier where you pause,
Mhm.
think about what you're thinking, and then kind of go from there. At no point did I feel like, especially when I first started, I didn't feel like when I paused to collect my thoughts, I didn't think you guys were going to jump in like, okay, let's finish this point. When you think about it, come back. You just gave the space to kind of do it. So I think a lot of it was almost learning on the job and getting comfortable as time went on and just being in that comfortable environment to just speak. And it is also nice that when you're looking at the computer, it's just the three of us. So it's like just another Zoom call, right? Rather than looking out and seeing the 2,500 whatever listeners that we get per episode.
It gave me a lot of confidence enough to sign up to do a conference talk, and now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to actually see hundreds of people at this.
Yeah, that's true. It's different. Yeah. But no, it's been a process. I mean, even for me, like you know, I tend to jump kind of head first into things, but even for me, like doing those first podcasts and stuff, it just took a long time to get comfortable. But this podcast has been amazing for my comfort level in front of people, even though I'm not like in front of people in the podcast, but it just like you gotta do a show, you gotta be like on, and you have to be able to talk for an hour or whatever it is. So it just has given me a lot more confidence over time.
The main difference between an amateur and a professional, regardless of the industry, so let's say programming, is if you're a hobbyist programmer and you love it and you spend time doing it, you have the choice to stop when you don't like doing something, or maybe it's too difficult at your level. You can just stop and not do that feature because you're in charge. The reason that people who do things for a job are typically way more rounded and better is because every day, well, I don't know about every day, but at least every week, you're forced to do something you don't want to do, or for some reason you wouldn't have done if you had the choice. And even though I know the hosts really enjoy recording the podcast, I also know it's like, oh, it's Monday or Tuesday morning, we have to record this. I am not in the mood, but you do it anyways. And so even though they're not professional in the way that they've had professional training, they're professional in a way that someone who's had professional training but never actually done it or did it, they, you know, and they've improved tons. Like I thought I was pretty decent after building Infinite Red, but then I didn't do it for a couple of years. And then when I came to my episode, I was actually pretty poor. I told Chad I want to edit my own
time. Yeah.
And I ripped out 40% of what I said.
Yeah.
We shouldn't let you be in charge of editing your own episodes because you're too hard on yourself.
Yeah, but it's got to be some benefit to being the boss. No one, it definitely isn't respect or money.
Yeah, that's tricky though, because I know if I was on an episode, I would want to edit it myself too, just because I'd be like, I want to go back. I want to go back and like critique what I said.
I suspect Todd removed things that he would have left in for us.
Well,
I just don't. I couldn't listen to myself for 5 hours.
Well,
actually, I forgot to say this with the previous question about how much time is invested, because I listen to every single episode after it comes out too. And I consider that to be closing the loop of the episode, because once I actually listen to the and a lot of people, I know Robin, you actually do, but like a lot of people won't. They straight up refuse.
That's crazy.
Will not
My
listen.
kids think it's so funny when I'm driving around and it's like mommy talking.
Yeah.
Like,
But I think it's important because
Yeah.
that's how you get better.
That's
Like
awesome.
you have to have that feedback loop. And if you never listen to yourself, you're not going to get better.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we do at Infinite Red, not just in the podcast, is we always do retros or postmortems, often immediately after. For instance,
Yeah.
when Jamin and I used to do sales,
Mhm.
we did that for years together, and we started and we're like, we're engineers, we don't want to be salespeople at all. But let's just engineer this. And so what we did, we first said, we don't have to do sales like other people, like you see on TV or you see in person. We got to do sales our way, otherwise it's gonna
Mhm.
suck. And then literally after every sales call, we jumped into Zoom and said what went well, what didn't go well.
Yep.
And it was basically a retro immediately after. And you could say, like, you did really good here, but I don't think that worked, and blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. And,
Yep.
and we do the same thing for R&R, and we do the same thing, So I think that process, maybe because I'm an engineer, I think that process is amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
Brandon asks, how did you arrive at the philosophy and culture of the transparency that we mentioned earlier, giving away what might be seen as company secrets? I think in some
Good
ways,
question.
well, in some ways it's personality. Certainly Todd and I are fairly open people in general. But also we met like doing open source, and there's kind of a culture of transparency within open source. And I think that's I don't know if that's a cause of it, but it's certainly like another signal of our transparency.
I think it's top down. If
Mhm.
it's like you've worked at companies where they're like big signs on the wall that says job, quality is job one, and you just know that they have the worst crappy quality ever.
Mhm.
Right? Because it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you say, it's what you do and stuff.
What you do.
And
Yeah.
and personally, I have a tough time not saying things. So it's just easier for me just to be as transparent as possible.
Patrick, hi. Let's see. Demetrius. So Demetrius says, hey, Ignite is so cool and well documented. Oh, my bad. Yes, same question. My bad. All right. Let's see here. Oh, Bradley asks, what mics are people using? I need a new podcast microphone.
Jed, you want to talk about the mics?
So you need to get yourself the Electro Voice RE20. No, actually,
No, those
everybody's using the RE320.
except for
If I'm
Jed.
remembering correctly, that's what that one is. Highly recommended. It's a really good, kind of middle of the road microphone, I guess is what you call it, Todd. It's an XLR mic, so you will need to get some sort of interface for it. We really like the Yamaha AGO3s for a smaller interface to plug into. A lot of times with the RE320s, you can find those on like eBay and stuff, like refurbished, or a lot of times they're just open box. You can find them
Those
for a
are
really
like
good price there.
they're like a $300 mic, right? Like
Yeah, if you buy it brand new, it's about $300. But I've seen them on eBay go down as low as, I think I bought my first one for 175 or something like that.
Nice.
Most
Yeah.
of our mics are used or refurbished.
one thing that's really cool about this microphone is it's not designed to do this where
Right.
it's just covering my mouth the whole time, which looks weird in a video call. It's designed to do this.
Yes.
So that's really
Mhm.
nice for live
Dude.
streaming or video stuff.
Mhm.
Jed and I have the RE20, which is expensive.
We like to flex, so there's
Yeah.
that.
I was
had
gonna
the-
ask why are yours
Well,
gray and ours
I-
are black? Are you better
well,
than us?
No,
The
Jamin
editors
has
have better than the hosts.
Jamin has
Which is
Jamin has my old
backwards.
mic. So
I know.
I wanted this mic forever.
I
'cause
should
this-
probably upgrade to the
This
the
is a
really
very
cool one.
well, they sound different. So it's not but this is a very
Oh.
common mic on radio. And
Okay.
one of the reasons is it's specifically designed to be at a 45-degree angle. It also has a built-in pop filter inside here.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the 320 is a much more affordable version of this. This one's like 5 something.
Yeah.
Rather than $180 that we get 320s for.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually I finally got the mic I wanted, and I handed it down to Jamin or
Yeah.
someone. It may not have been Jamin, it's someone.
I think it was me.
Yeah, the RE20 is like the
Wow.
quintessential like broadcaster microphone. They've been
Yeah.
making this mic in the US since what, like the 60s or something like that, Todd? It's been a long
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah, this is a very old design. Everyone uses the SMP, the sheer, what is it, SMB?
SMB7,
Yeah, and that's, I get why people,
SM7B, that's what it is.
yeah, I get why people do it because it gives you that kind of Mosin voice when you don't have it.
Right.
And it's very popular, but these are more well-rounded, accurate to your voice mics.
Yeah.
Jakob says happy days. He's from Callstack, tuning in pretty
Oh.
late his time. So
Call stack.
we love the folks at Callstack.
Oh,
They're
yes.
awesome. I think Jakob, that's how you say it, right? It's like an American would pronounce it Jacob, but I think it's Jakob there. I could be wrong. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. Anyway, he's one of the hosts of the React Native
show podcast.
Show
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah.
React Native Show podcast.
We're all
let's
friends.
see.
I know, I'm teasing.
So Mark Lynch said, "I'm scared that Chain React last year has ruined me for future conferences. It's a tough act to follow."
Aw,
I
that was
like
really
that.
nice.
That's nice.
Mm.
That's
it was
why
super
you just
cool
need
he
to
could
keep
come.
coming to Chain React every year.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Justin runs Chain React, so he's particularly
Oh, yeah.
happy about that.
Oh,
It did ruin
Jakob
you
says
for
that
all
I
other
pronounced it
conferences.
correctly.
Good job.
By the way, he also asked the mood aspect, like what I think Todd, I think it was
said
Todd
that,
that
yeah.
mentioned when you come in to a Tuesday recording, you're not really in the mood. He's another podcast host, right? So he
Mhm.
says the mood aspect is a big challenge sometimes. Do you have any tricks that help you overcome it when you know that you need to sit down and record an episode? That's a really good question.
Yeah. I'm curious if
Um,
you all do.
Well,
I think just like chatting with each other and like
Yes.
with the episodes where we do a warmer and
Mhm.
we just sort of like loosen each other up, it really, really helps.
Yeah.
Just like shake off whatever like bad
know-
mood we were in.
We also
I
do
know
like a
not everybody-
pre-warmer, a warmer to the warmer, usually while we're sitting in the room getting set
Yeah.
up, which usually just helps loosen the nerves and just get you going.
Yeah.
Honestly, what I've seen
we
you
like
guys
each other.
do,
We're friends, so
what I've seen you guys do that's been really awesome is I'll see one of you just finally reach a point where it's just like, as you guys are getting ready, you're like, man, I don't feel like doing this. And everyone's like, I know. And then there's this like this
Right.
camaraderie that develops. And then
Uh-huh.
by doing that, everybody's like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. You're totally right.
Yeah.
By the way, Trevor in Twitch, I think that's Trevor,
Is that our
Prince
Trevor?
2000 TV. He
Is that
says,
our Trevor?
step
Yes.
one, like your coworkers. And I totally
Yes.
agree.
Yes.
yeah.
Very,
'Cause
very
we-
true.
We get
Yeah.
into, and yes, the pre-warmer. Not everybody who listens likes our warmers. So our warmers are essentially where we talk about something else. It's like, I'll come in and just sort of do like this.
that's where the
this, like-
sports ball talk comes in.
I'll just be like, Mazen, your soccer team accomplished something big last night. What was that all about? Or something.
Or
And
Jamin, why do you have a bruise on your head? Did you get hit with a hockey puck?
Why is there a hockey puck embedded in your forehead, Jamin?
yeah, this explains a lot.
I understand why.
But it helps us get going.
I understand why some people may not like the warmers, but
Yeah.
they're completely wrong. And if
Mhm.
you just want information, I feel like a podcast is kind of a waste
Well,
of your time.
you're also free to use the fast forward button too.
Yeah.
Right. And you just go to ChatGPT and ask them a summary of stuff. Like the whole
Yeah.
the whole point of a podcast is you get to know these people in some way
Yeah.
on a weekly
Mhm.
basis. And
Right.
so I do cut
Yeah.
down the warmer sometimes. If it's
Yeah.
I do watch the time,
Yeah.
like try to keep it a couple
Mhm.
minutes rather than 10 minutes or something like that. But
Todd's absolutely right. So you're wrong and sit there in your wrongness.
Or
And
fast
so-
forward. It's fine.
and
Or fast
come to
forward.
Chain React, have your family subscribe to R&R, and
Yeah,
Don't
that was
keep
good.
mentioning
That's
Chain
good.
React. I'm not going to financially recover from all the memos I gotta send.
I forget what is Chain React.
Stop it, Todd.
Chain React Conf. Or wait. Yeah, chainreactconf.com.
Conf.com.
Right, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark Lynch says that he's trying to figure out how to get back to Chain React, but there are a lot of commitments around that time, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
You need to try harder.
Mauricio says hello from Brazil.
Oh,
Brazil?
hello.
Brazil mentioned. Yeah, it's awesome to have people tuning in from all over the world. Mark Rickert says, I met Jamin and Todd through open source over a decade ago. Fun fact, I knew Mark before I knew Todd. I was working on some open source. It was right around the same time, but it was like
I'm
a few
pretty
months.
sure I knew Mark.
Mark is
was
like the Forrest Gump of open source. I swear.
He's everywhere.
I
So
will be on
word.
some
That's
random
amazing.
library looking up like an issue, and there's Mark in the comments or filed the issue, and I'm like, this guy's everywhere.
By the way, I have to tell you a little story that happened this past. It was just earlier this week. I was late at night and I was trying to get this old game that I used to play when I was a kid working on my computer. It's called Gunship 2000, and I was like, and literally old. When I say old, it's 33 years old. It's 1991, I think, was when it came out. And so I was like a preteen, early teen when I played it. So I'm like searching the internet to find how to do this. And I go to a forum and I scroll down and I see a question from me in 2007.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to do the same thing.
No way. Trying to do the same thing.
Awesome. Holy cow.
So 17 years later, you still know how to do it.
Exactly. I actually did get it working. They actually put it on Steam and it works. So that's cool.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Not the first time that's happened to you also, Damon.
What's
not
that?
the first time. It's not the first time that's happened to you also.
Oh no, totally. Yeah. We even had a few like funny things like that we talked about in episodes. Let's see here. Andres says the EV RE20 is the best mic. Let's see. Trevor says, I moved to YouTube where all the cool kids are. He was on Twitch watching us.
Yeah, I'm watching Twitch and we're getting way more comments over on YouTube.
Yeah, totally.
If we missed your question, ask it again.
We'll Mark says, less soccer, hockey, basketball warmers, more Formula One warmers.
Yes.
No.
Okay with me.
Robin agrees.
Robin's down with this. Yeah.
Team
Definitely.
Checo right here.
I'm like
Team Lando over here.
A casual, very, very casual Formula One fan.
Jamin's the type of person who doesn't watch the races because he doesn't want spoilers for Drive to Survive.
I've never seen Drive to Survive. If you're not getting up at 3 a.m. this weekend, then you're not a Formula One fan.
That's
okay,
me.
I'm not a Formula One fan. I'm not
before we lose half our audience.
I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of a. I wonder if half. Yeah, I guess half. We'll lose half, and the other half will be like stuck to this, like just chatting.
Oh, it's going to be ends of the spectrum. Yeah, we're going to lose half, and the other half's going to be engaged as all get out.
Jakob says, "I love the approach." Speaking about like the warmer, the pre-warmer, and everything like that. And also, I think such a warm-up is a great way to put yourself in a good place before recording. What I find the most difficult is when I have a guest from outside of CallStack. It's harder to get the warm-up going. But then adrenaline kicks in and does the job mostly. Yep. That's
I honestly, I really love that we have 3 of us. And when we have a guest, we have at least 2 of us.
Yeah.
Usually we'll go down to 2 hosts when there's a guest. But I find it so much more comfortable with a guest when there's like 2 of us that can make each other feel more comfortable and also like help make the guest feel more comfortable by like basically being comfortable ourselves.
Yeah, that totally
like
is
modeling the comfort and be like, we're chill, so you can be chill. Like it.
Yeah.
It really helps to have a buddy.
The warmer is super important, not just in podcast, but in every meeting.
Yes.
This is one of the things that I like sometimes very awkwardly force. Let's say we're having a Zoom call. Let's say we're having a sales call. We're having a sales call where we have to be on our best behavior or whatever. I always force, a lot of engineers especially just like to jump in. But if you just jump in and don't have any sort of pleasantries or have a laugh together or have some sort of warmer, the entire meeting's going to go 50% worse. So warmers for everything,
That's literally how we start every Infinite Red meeting.
Yeah. My thing is to make people laugh. Jamin's is to be genuine and actually care about what they say. We all have our different things.
Niraj says hi from India.
Hello.
Jakob says, also for me, having a ritual before I jump in helps. I host the coffee talk, so I usually go make myself a coffee, and that brings me into the flow zone. These are all really good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Really, really good. Let's see here. Nathaniel says hi. Trevor puts a bunch of race cars in the chat. My brother Denton says, I've never watched racing, but I've gone to a Formula One race and an Indy 500. So he's never watched on TV, but he's gone to two races.
Which race?
And he said, I even flew out of the country to watch F1. He went to Montreal. That was a few years ago.
Is Dead Slap Denton?
Yep, that's him. Yeah, Dead Slap on Twitch.
Hey, buddy.
Don't get me started talking about Formula One.
Yeah. By the way, for those of you who do have Twitch, go subscribe or follow Dead Slap, because he is making a game in Godot and he streams pretty much every night, and it's really, really fun. Like, it's a cool game. It's a really cool game that he's making.
Oh, his game dev streams are awesome.
Yeah,
it's so good.
And he's making all of the assets. So everything you see on the screen, like there's all these 3D like trees and little creatures that run around and stuff. He makes all of that in Blender and like makes the animations and everything.
Wow,
that's cool.
Really cool stuff. Go check that out.
Den, we'll send you an invoice a little bit later for that.
I missed it.
You have an advertising budget, right?
Yeah,
Polycarp, who is my cousin Nick, says, "Hey guys, I missed my invite."
Is that the Nick that I talked to?
This call. What's that?
Is that the Nick I talked to?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's the Nick you know. Yeah.
The Nick you know is always better than the Nick you don't.
And he said, I guess the senior marketing director of ClearSight isn't needed here. This is so fun fact. He was the very first official employee of my very first company. So he calls himself the senior marketing director of ClearSight still to this day. Let's see. So hi from Israel. That was Nathaniel. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm sorry. Mark Lynch asks, can you give a general sense of how much interest there is in React Native to add a component of AI into the apps you're building? Fun timing there, Mark, because the episode we are recording on Tuesday with Gent Laborde, also here at Infinite Red, owner of Infinite Red, is about that exact thing. So it should be landing in the next month or so. But talking about bringing AI into apps within React Native.
It's very top of mind for us.
Yes, very top of mind. And we have we don't have a lot of projects going at a time because we're a team of 30. And so, 8 projects or something going at one time.
Yeah.
One of them is hugely AI, tons of AI everywhere. That's the central focus, is an AI. I don't want to describe too much NDAs, but it is an
but that's
AI
classified
focused app for sure in the healthcare space. So that is, it's just, it's ubiquitous, starting to become more and more and more. And obviously being a component of many other apps that we build also that we can't talk about, like, for example,
let's call it Space Nook.
I'm just gonna get in trouble here. So anyway, there's some big apps that are probably on your phone right now that are adding AI components that usually make sense. Not always, but usually make sense. And so yeah, lots of stuff happening. All right.
Meteor Cache.
We got our first skater. We got our first
great.
Skater.
Oh, I love it.
On YouTube. EVB says, "Hey, you suck."
Oh,
nice.
Yes, I do.
Love it.
Does that mean we've made it?
I think we've made it.
Your mom
Flutter
doesn't complain.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Remember, we're live.
I'm sorry.
Then edit it out, Todd.
Yeah. What's that? I'm sorry.
Anytime-
I gotta talk.
We got to put Todd on a 5-second delay.
Pindax.
Yes.
I'm out.
Pindax says, hello from Montreal. Was listening on Twitter, but I guess you pay more attention to Twitch. I don't know. Like, if you tried to message, I do have a feed from Restream of everything, and supposedly I'm supposed to be getting like Twitter chats as well. However, if they don't come through, I'm sorry. I'm reading everything though. So anyway, nice to have you along, Pine Dax. They switched to Twitter. Or sorry, switched to Twitch. Ah, man, that's a tongue twister.
That's a tongue twister. Okay, yeah.
Nick Morgan says, "Oh man, okay, never mind. I'm not even reading this." He just like did a Chat GPT comment.
Oh, wait, what if it's really his comment and you just said it was?
Sure, it is. This sounds just like Nick.
I want to hear it.
Just make sure to keep it chill and fun. Brotherhood vibes all the way. Keep slaying, bro. And then some emojis. Nathaniel says it's correct. My name. Oh, nice. I always am like really happy if I pronounce someone's name correctly.
As someone whose name has been pronounced Jamon.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A lot.
Hamon, everything. Then they say, Nathaniel says, I want to share with you that I entered the world of React Native a year and a half ago, and I learned a lot from you. Many thanks for all the content. I appreciate that. Yeah. Dead slap my brother Denton. He says, getting the first hater is a great experience. Nyan, no, I'm not avoiding you. Did I miss something? Can you post it again? And then just Patrick asked about adding chapters to the podcast. I don't know how you do that. Is that a thing you can do? Chapters?
So it just
unless
little,
I adopt
points in the audio that you can like
like
skip
per
to.
question?
Podcasts have chapters? Like, can you like add them? I've never seen a podcast.
I know I've seen it on YouTube.
Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
Stumped us.
Yeah. Let me get back to you on that one.
We're checking.
That sounds just like Nick. Yeah, I don't think so, Kate. Okay, Mark Lynch, another question. Follow up on your usually makes sense. Wait, what? Oh, okay. On the AI, like when I said the AI features they ask for usually make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
How often do you deal with clients that want something that okay, Todd, don't talk here. Want something that makes 0 sense, but you have to do it anyway.
Oh, I just had one recently.
I've talked prospective customers out of doing their project before in a sales call.
This is actually true. This is true. I've witnessed this firsthand. Like, this project does not make sense, and you are going to.
Well, we used to do a lot of startups, and we were a startup, and I've done 3 companies, and James done a couple.
Yeah.
And so really it was just, I felt bad for these people. And I did it very respectfully, but basically explain what they're going to hear when they go pitch this to a VC, because I've heard it. And the VC is not going to be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
I can
what do you
give an
think?
example.
Like Mazen and Robin, you're the ones that are like hands-on.
I can give an example. I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast. But Nick was on this project with me, Nick Morgan. We had a client where business was all in on React Native. The dev team was not at all entertaining the idea of React Native. But again, because the business said we're going to give it a try, they put a couple members on the team, and we basically had to convince them.
These are native devs.
These are native devs, yes. So we're talking about native devs who built their app and had been on the team. Some of them had been on the team for 11 years. So it's a hard sell at the end of the day, right? We got some devs to buy in. The web dev was all in. Makes sense, right? Web was in React. The Android devs were getting sold on the idea, and it was slow moving, but we got them there. But then the iOS devs were not having it. They just would try and find anything wrong and just hone in on it, and we would basically come back with counterpoints to their argument, and they'd be like, they wouldn't even acknowledge it. They'd move on, like try to find another.
They'd move the goalposts again. Yeah.
They just move it like, okay, well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this now.
Yeah.
And then we just kept going on that way. And then literally
it's React Native's not performant in this scenario. And then Mazen or Nick would be like, here's an example showing it being performant in that exact scenario. And they'd say, but it's not performant in this scenario. And you're like, well,
it was a continuing quest.
It's like you're continually like chasing, like
stump React Native.
The last thing they kind of put all their like eggs in the basket on was they gave us 3 topics that they felt React Native could not perform in that were way outside any app. I'm not going to give details, but just think of something very absurd that no app out there, whether it's native, React Native, Flutter, Cordova, keep going, they've never done. Not even a web app does. They were like, let's do it in React Native and see if React Native can handle it.
Yeah.
And everyone's reaction, except for the iOS devs, were, but we are never going to do that.
Why?
So
Yeah.
why would we even waste our time with it? So they had like a retreat for like 2 weeks type thing. So the 3 of us just sat down and each tackled one. And then we're like, this is the most performant we can get it because this is just absurd in the first place. So let's see what they say.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really have much to say about a couple of them because we got them really good. They were like, okay, that's our like top limit. And then eventually, I guess they just caused an
ultimately
internal
that
uproar.
project was leadership loved us, web loved us, Android was pretty cool with us. It was just that leadership got tired of fighting the iOS devs, and so that project wasn't a successful one, although I think in some ways I still consider a success based on
we got a lot. We got a lot out of it.
Yeah,
just
we
like
sure did.
Putting React Native through its paces and the things that we learned and the confidence that we gained. If this comes up again with another client, is super valuable.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But in terms of like day to day, I mean, I've never been in a situation where a client's entire app or like premise is a bad idea, but like pretty routinely, like clients will want to do some UX pattern or something that is not advisable, and we have ways of kind of gently nudging them the right direction, and we'll fall back on like what we know to be native patterns, because a lot of times they just aren't familiar with the way native apps work or about, and we'll come like approach it with our expertise and experience and be like, okay, well, in our experience, like usually we do it this way, or like this is probably the most common, or this is what your users will be expecting, and they're honestly most of the time very receptive.
Well, and one thing that our team's extremely good at with our clients is we really heavily invest in trying to grow these relationships with, whether it's an engineering team you're integrating with or whoever on the client side, just putting a lot of time into building a relationship with them. And that way, when these situations may come up where they're like, hey, I really want to do this, in a lot of cases, it comes from a good place. Like, you just have to kind of help them unpack, like, okay, let's go back to square one. What are you really trying to do here? And because you've like put in that time building that relationship with them, it's coming across as less of a, I need you just to do this and not asking questions. And it's more of they respect where you're coming from. Yes, exactly. And I think
it's a lot of trust and respect, like mutually.
Exactly.
Like,
yep.
I know Jim told me not to talk, but
No, that was a joke. I do really quick want to say, see you, Jakub. Thanks for stopping by. I know it's pretty late there in Poland, and see you in September for sure.
Bye.
But all I was going to say is the project, when we did a lot more startups than larger companies, the only projects that were really kind of red flags were vanity projects, meaning someone has enough money to pay to have this built, but they have never convinced anyone that it's worth it or useful. And in those situations, the crappy part is everyone on their team knows it too. And so it's kind of like a death march, you know what I mean? And so we actually don't take those projects intentionally, but those are the ones. And I get it. Like, you know, I could be that person where I'm like, I want to do X and I have enough money to pay for it, so I don't need to ask anyone's permission. You really should ask someone's permission, to be honest. So
calling it X in that scenario is a little bit on the nose.
Oh, X. I'm sorry. Why? As in, why did I change one of the most popular brands in the world?
Oliver asks, what do you think about the current state of cross-platform development ecosystem, considering other tools like Kotlin multi-platform, Flutter, and the recent updates with the React Native new architecture. So I think that for many years, we were looking for this, like kind of cross-platform technology. And up until React Native, there really wasn't anything that hit the mark. Like there was like Phone Gap and stuff like that really tried, but they just couldn't quite hit it. With React Native, it kind of paved the way for these other things to land, because it was obvious that this was needed. Now, if you ask individual developers, they'd be like, but this cross-platform thing isn't as good as my one platform thing, which is like a very developer way to look at it. It's not a business person way to look at it. But also, you don't want to ship crap. Like, it needs to work well. So I love it for React Native because it pushes React Native, having Kotlin multi-platform and Flutter. But with that said, I think that the most compelling is still React Native because it actually has a web connection, and web is the behemoth. Web is everything. So then when you do mobile, why would your web team then switch to using Dart for their web? Like, they're already using React. Why would they use, or they're already using TypeScript, why would they change to Dart and Flutter? Kotlin multi-platform, yes, you can build, I think, some sort of web thing, but it's not going to be anything close to what React is.
And everything you interact with in a React Native app is native.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true of, I can't think Flutter of an example, but
yeah.
You can't.
Well, even on that project I was talking about too, like they had a Kotlin multi-platform team working on the side. They weren't able to move as fast as we were. They kept running into like build issues along the way because it's Kotlin, right? And its engine to get it to iOS was not really the best. So they had to hand roll something that made it work better for them. It was technically people working on it, take out the iOS dev that was not really into the project, but the three of us and their web guy, we were able to get their app, which is a lot of screens. We're able to get like 50-ish, not 50%, maybe a little bit less than 50% of the app built, and put together like a whole training guide onboarding for native devs to get to React Native in the time their Kotlin multi-platform team barely got 1 or 2 screens up and running in that. So not only is there the speed of it, but it also gives you the time to then turn around and work on your performance and other like issues that you want to focus, like points that you want to focus on to get it to where you want it to be.
I am going to remove a user.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Thank you.
Oh, rip.
Do we have a troll?
Yeah, the same person just kept on coming in and okay, their last message was, "Are you hiring interns?" After saying that we sucked like 8 times.
we did ask for more.
I mean, if it was a joke, like, I'm sorry,
It's a
but
bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
It is a bold strategy.
All right.
There was a pivot. There was a pivot.
Frank Von Hoven says, I hear there's a React Native conference coming up in about a month. Have you all heard of this thing?
Nope.
Nope. Not at all. There's no
Justin?
conference.
No idea
Have you
what you're
heard of
talking
it?
about.
no. Is there a conference coming up?
Chainreactconf.com.
July 17th through 19th.
Mark says, Todd, I got your Ferrari reference.
Thank
All right.
you.
Polycarp says, question for Jamin. What would you rather be for 24 hours? A hobbit or an elf? An elf, obviously. Elves are like OP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he has a question for Jed. If you had to be without one for the rest of your life, which one would you choose? Your violin or your Mac?
Oh, well, that's easy. My Mac. I can't quit my violin, dude.
You could just go
Yep.
to Windows.
Wow.
I've been playing on that thing since I was 5.5. You can't you just can't. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's see.
I'm sorry, Tim Apple, but it's the way it is.
And I think we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon, folks. Thanks for all the questions. There's been tons and tons of interaction. It's been great. I think this is more of a comment, but Pine Dax says, yeah, that sounds familiar. iOS developers tend to put more friction in the adoption of multi-platform technologies. The same developers, iOS, are the ones who will stand up for Xcode whenever anyone makes a joke or a comment about how bad the developer experience is. By the way, I was a native iOS developer for many years, but the above is still true.
I mean,
so was I. So,
well, you probably know better than anybody then.
It's natural for developers to defend their tools. I mean, think about it. They've spent years learning and refining it and stuff, and it's non-trivial to switch to something new. And so it's understandable.
So, Nyan, I don't know where your question went because I don't see it on Twitter at all. I see you saying that you sent a question, but I do.
If you want, you could just post it over here real quick. That might be the easiest way to get it answered.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not. It's not popping up for me, and I don't understand why it's not there. There is a question on local first apps, which is kind of an inside baseball thing, but I mean, I like local first myself. I like the idea of having apps that can run without an internet connection and that do synchronization with backend after you regain your connection. And you have a database on device, and then you synchronize with another database. I did a bunch of work on that with a little like toy project that I was working on, a to-do app that I was working on. And it's hard. It's difficult because what happens if you have multiple devices all editing the same thing? How do you then synchronize that once they come back online without one of them just wiping out the changes from the other one? So,
well, there's some good database. There's some databases that handle that well.
Yeah, that's right. And we actually have there's a thing called PowerSync that we actually put up on the Ignite cookbook. Go to ignitecookbook.com. That's all built for this. And we did a Ignite plus PowerSync recipe, I guess.
You can't just say PowerSync like PowerSync. You gotta go like PowerSync or something like that. There's got to be like a little bit of extra inflection in there.
We used to do a lot local first apps.
Well, I mean, it used to be a lot. It used to be really important because like cellular networks were so bad and
it was our
unreliable
default.
Like mobile apps, like that was the thing is they needed to be really resilient to that. And it's gotten to be less less of a priority.
The price isn't worth it anymore for most applications. But I mean, I think the performance and the experience of a local first is the Cadillac of apps, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, Polycarp, question for Todd. If you had to dip your Oreo in something other than milk or coffee, what would it be?
Well, it wouldn't be milk or coffee, though.
Todd doesn't consume any dairy products ever.
No.
Or coffee.
Or coffee.
I wanted to, okay, so I'm not going to answer the question. I'm going to be a politician, answer the question you didn't ask. I wanted to learn to like coffee, and I told my wife, Heather, I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to learn to like coffee. Because I've learned through life that you, even if you hate something, a food or drink, if you just consume it over like 2 weeks, it changes that. Tea is a good example. I'm a big tea fan. I love tea. I drink tea every day, all day. I used to hate tea. So, but I told my wife that I'm like, oh, I want to get in coffee. It's so cool. And everyone seems to enjoy it. And she said she hates coffee breath. So there was a scratch, a record scratch in the background.
A record scratch, and that was over.
And I'm like, but tea's
There you go. Exactly. By the way, Nyan's question did finally come through. I'm doing React Native for the last year, and I'm still not good at JavaScript. I learned JavaScript as book lessons, first HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And by doing this, I didn't actually learn the way I want to learn. And currently, I'm facing problems every day, and thanks to ChatGPT, which is saving my time to learn and making me dumb by copy pasting every single day. I'm not actually learning, but as for my clients, I have to ship the code as fast as possible. How do I fix this? Like, I want to go through everything. I want to make myself proud in my own eyes. And currently, I'm really in a great community. I love you all. You all are great. Jamin, you're one of my top 3 React Native superheroes. Oh, that's really nice.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
I think the best
Go ahead.
course that I've seen right now, but it's not JavaScript,
Mhm.
it's TypeScript. It's totaltypescript.com by Matt
yeah.
Pocock.
Poca. Yeah.
I did that course, and it's very good because it does TypeScript basics,
Mhm.
TypeScript like React, and then like HTML related stuff and some hook stuff. So it kind of gives you that whole cycle that will it's basically a React. If you have the React Native like foundation and background and you go back and do this, I think it'll help you strengthen your TypeScript. It's not JavaScript like you asked,
Right.
but I think it's a very good TypeScript course that gets you to understand it well. I don't know about JavaScript.
I want to chime in.
Mhm.
This is who said this?
Nyan.
Nine. Nyan, you are not alone. There's typically two type of people in programming. One is someone who got a formal education and then had to learn kind of the practical stuff on the job. And then there's the other people like myself, and it sounds like you, who learn on the job. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with shipping working product, whether or not you understand everything or not. I will say what I always did is I would spend most of my time being able to accomplish the tasks I need for my job and for clients if I was working for clients. And then I'd always set aside a certain amount of time every week to go back and learn fundamentals. A good example is learn regex, learn SQL. This is old days. You know, whatever it is, just make sure you have on your calendar some time just to learn something that's completely academic.
Yep.
And over time, those things will start merging where you can have someone will have a conversation with you and you'll sound like you have a computer science degree because you understand the academics. But frankly, getting stuff built, we make things using technology to solve real people's problems, which is a very cool superpower. And you should always focus on the making things first.
Yeah.
The academics, unless you're actually a computer scientist, you're doing science. But we're not. We're building things.
I absolutely agree. And people underestimate or they overestimate what they can learn and absorb in a week, but they underestimate what they can do in a year. And if you do what Todd said, which is setting aside a little bit of time every week to sharpen your skills, you'll be very surprised where you are in another. And you've only done it for a year. I mean, the fact that you're shipping software in a year is already impressive, you know, to start with.
Yeah.
So, you know, don't feel too bad about that.
What we do is hard. It's hard. And
yeah.
That's why our industry is ripe with imposter syndrome. And you know, it's just very difficult. If you love it, you're like amazed that you get paid to do this thing that you used to do as a hobby, and that's wonderful. But it doesn't mean it's not a really, really hard thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will also say, every time I've like learned something new in this industry, either like the very first time I learned to program, like my first job, or learning React Native or whatever it is, my learning increases exponentially when I bring in another person. Pairing, like most of my React Native foundation came from Derek Greenberg, who was one of our Infinite Red. Like he was the first like pair I had on a project. He was the primary, I was the secondary on my first project. And he like we would sit together and like I would code and he'd be like, oh, that's like it's actually easier if you do it this way, or like, oh, like he could like basically short circuit a lot of the learning loops and make everything go a lot faster. So if you can find someone to just work with you or shadow you or pair with you or whatever.
The ultimate is if you teach someone else, because to teach someone, you have to really learn something you didn't understand before.
Yeah, that's been my method for a long time. And I will say that even though we have very senior developers who have been doing this for many, many years and are very, very good, we still set aside time Friday mornings to learn. Like that's learning time. And so this is a lifetime, you know, like a career long thing, not just in the early parts of your career. Also, my brother says, also, it's important to figure out how you learn because I learn very differently from a lot of people. My well-developed system involves me doing the wrong thing 40 times until by pure random entropy, I do the correct thing. So
Wise
totally
words.
random.
It's true.
Wise words.
It's basically like an AI trophy.
Everyone kind of has their own way of learning, and I cannot learn from tutorials. I have to like look at examples and like go make something work and experience the bugs and fix the bugs, and that's just how it has to go.
Yeah, I'm more hands-on person myself. Like I loved physics class in college, but I loved all the talking about it, not math about it, you know. So
You liked the physics demos where your physics teacher would like stand with like the like giant heavy bowling ball and then like drop it, and just to prove that it was not going to hit him in the face.
yes.
All right. I am going to read one more comment and then we're going to wrap up here because we're getting toward the end of our time. So Polycarp on Twitch said, Derek Greenberg changed my life. He doesn't even know it. He taught me how to cook the best smash burger in a cast iron. And that is amazing. And he says, we call them green burgers in our house.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I
That's
love
amazing.
that.
Oh my word.
I know
That's so
Derek
cool.
very well. We've worked together for a very long time, and he is going to love that comment.
Yeah, you
he
just made
will.
his day.
He absolutely will.
A little birdie told me there may sometime in the future be Derek's cooking tips as part of the React Native newsletter. Didn't hear
That
it.
would be
Yes.
awesome.
Oh, I would love that. That
Dude,
is
so
good.
I've been trying to get Derek to do like YouTube forever, and it's just not his personality.
Yeah.
But he can sit there for 20 minutes and describe how to hard boil an egg.
Mhm.
Not only will you learn how to make the best hard boiled egg, and he does actually have a good recipe that you've ever had, but it'll be totally interesting to you whether or not you eat eggs, like to cook or anything. He just goes and he's
you'll just be spellbound by like he'll have
the stories are awesome.
It's a story. Like the whole thing is a story. So
sometimes trying to get him to be brief, that's hard. But
no, don't ask him if you're in a hurry. But that's part of it. So that is a very good question, by the way, Shoaib. But we are out of time. So we'll have to do that next time. Maybe we'll do another live stream at some point. I'd love to do one with Todd and Gant, my business partners, to just talk about the business side of Infinite Red at some point. So feel free to, make sure that you follow the Twitch, the YouTube, Twitter, wherever else everybody is. Thank you all. Derek says, I do love that comment. Robin is right about the cooking tips idea. Todd is right about me sharing stories about cooking adventures. Cool. Well, thank you all who are listening. We had a really good audience. Lots and lots of comments came in. Of course, everybody, thank you for in this call. Mazen, Robin, Justin, Jed, and Todd. Appreciate you all joining today. And I'm going to shut this down. We will see you all next time, and look out for, I think there's another episode maybe landing next week. So, subscribe to React Native Radio.
Thanks, y'all.